This is the hardest list to make all year because I love action figures so much, and best is such a subjective term. How do you determine which factors of which figures are most important to you? I spend weeks agonizing over whether my favorite characters are better than new characters that have better articulation or come with more accessories or have just never been made before. They're mostly number ones to me, and it's impossible for me to decide. I regret every decision as soon as I make it, and this is the result of an entire year's worth of suffering. I hope you're happy. Hi, I'm Dan Larson, and this is the 10 best action figures of 2017. First off, the rules. Number one, figures have to be released in 2017, not just purchased in 2017. I bought like 50 vintage Kenner Boba Fetts this year, and none of them are eligible. Two, if I didn't buy it, it's not eligible for this list. I wanted Storm Collectibles Reptile, DC Multiverse King Shark. There might have been a Mezco or two that I might have been interested in, but if I couldn't get it for some reason, whether that was price or availability or missing a pre-order deadline, or I just plain decided not to get it, it obviously doesn't qualify as one of the best of the year for me. Number three, only 10 figures. This isn't the 17 best of 2017, although I admit that 7 additional spots would absolutely have made this easier. Number 10 is Marvel Select Homecoming Spider-Man. I was absolutely not looking for this figure. I didn't even know it was being made, but I was also not entirely impressed with the Marvel Legends versions that had already been released. It jumped off the shelf with its bright colors, the sharpness of the double web lines, multiple handsets, and a rooftop diorama stand. Yeah, he's got a weird crotch joint, but it didn't bother me when DC Universe Classics used the same design a few years ago, and it doesn't bother me now. And yeah, he's a little over these 6-inch scale proportions, but you'll never know it in my Instagram photos, unless I want you to. Number 9 is Hasbro Star Wars 40th Anniversary Black Series Darth Vader. If this figure had not come out this year, it wouldn't have been a big deal. Tough thing to say about one of the 10 best of the year, I know. What I mean is that I already had a 6-inch Mafex Darth Vader that I liked a lot, and this is technically the 3rd attempt at a Vader for Hasbro, and I don't want to encourage that kind of behavior. Don't get me wrong, this is a better Vader than those previous attempts, way better. In fact, this really is the best 6-inch scale Vader ever, but he was a little late to the Vader party, and so even if you are the best 6-inch Vader, that only gets you the 9 spot. Number 8 is NECA, Endocop, and Terminator Dog. One of the things that makes putting together a list like this so hard is how time changes your opinion of things. Figures I got back in January, February, March might have been really amazing when I first picked them up, but maybe they feel a little average now. The shine has worn off. I don't think about them as much as I used to. Other stuff shows up in my mailbox the day I'm writing the script for this video, and now I have to try to determine where this fits in with all the stuff that has already come out this year. It's not even a day old yet for me. But NECA made this one easy. Endoskeleton Robocop and Endoskeleton Dog just walked in and they were like, hey, we're on this list. And I was like, yeah, you are. Number 7 is Hasbro Force Link Boba Fett. Force Link Boba Fett is a 5 POA 3 3/4 inch action figure that came in a 2-pack with one of the worst Han Solo and Bespin Gear action figures ever. That's not particularly important. I just want to clarify that I have the Han, but I'm not proud of it. He's up for sale if you want him. I have to admit that this Fett almost didn't make the top 10, and I gotta apologize to him. I had totally overlooked him when I was putting this list together, but when I stopped and really thought about what the best figures were this year, I realized he's been standing there on the shelf next to my desk since he came out. I hadn't really considered him because he's not super articulated, he's not a 6-inch figure, and he came with a flamethrower launcher thing and the worst Han Solo and Bespin Gear figure ever. As it turns out, this Boba Fett is actually the best looking 3 3/4 inch Boba Fett figure. If I could somehow detach myself from the nostalgic connections of the vintage Kenner figure, he's actually the best looking 3 3/4 inch Boba Fett figure, period. Better than all of the vintage collection and Saga Legends and all of them. 3 3/4 inch Boba Fetts are the whole reason I'm here, and I can't believe I almost betrayed myself like that. Number 6 is Hasbro Marvel Legends Ares. I wanted to buy this guy back in 2008 when he was the Build-A-Figure in a Walmart exclusive wave, but wasn't willing to buy that many figures I didn't want just to complete a Build-A-Figure. Over the years, his secondary market value kept going up, and eventually he was totally out of my range. I started building him by buying the individual parts when I found them at reasonable prices, but it took until this year, literally 3 weeks after I bought this Ares, that I was able to complete the original Build-A-Figure. That said, this one looks better, came with more weapons, and cost $20, which is what I paid for like one arm on the original. Number 5 is SHFiguarts Han Solo and Chewbacca. It's cheating, I'm a cheater. It's 2 figures, but these guys are inseparable, and there's no way I was going to pick one or the other. I would never have bought just Han Solo or just Chewbacca. They really should have just come as a set. Both figures come with alternate hands, Chewbacca has an alternate face, and they just look so good together. Super articulated, highly expressive. I had a lot of fun taking pictures of both of these figures for Instagram this year, even with the weird gold highlights in Han's hair, and maybe a little bit of creepiness in the digital face printing on my particular figure. Number 4 is Hasbro Star Wars Black Series Hera Syndulla. I love Rebels and want to love the entire crew on my shelf in action figure form. I never expected Hasbro to make Kanan in the Black Series, but once they did, I hoped that they were committed to making everyone. Sabine's release last year was a very strong indicator that they might actually make the rest of the crew. And now that Hera is here, it should be a sign that the rest should be out in 2018, right? 3 figures in, 4 if you want to include Ahsoka. You're committed at this point, Hasbro. Ezra was the main character, so you have to make him, and after that you really only need to do Zeb and Chopper. Chopper was in Rogue One, for crying out loud. Make it a 3-pack, or put Chopper in with Ezra, and it's only 2 releases and we're done.
You okay with Chopper?
Is that what I said? Get to the Chopper! Number 3 is Hasbro Marvel Legends Darkhawk. I cannot explain this. I really don't know how we got here. As I explained in our review of this figure, link in the description below, I've had a complicated relationship with him since he debuted in Marvel Comics back in 1991. I really don't care about him in context. I know that jewel on his chest does something, but it doesn't matter to me, and who he actually is did not affect my decision to buy this figure at all. I don't love the treatment of the wings, but I love that he has wings, and that helmet is just so sharp. The gauntlets, the blue and silver, the space bird theme. It's like Boba Fett and Silverhawks combined into one figure, and what am I supposed to do with that? I ranked him at number 3. That's what I did with that. Number 2 is the Fwooshes, articulated icons, Samurai Fumetsu, the Undying Ronin. Highly detailed 6-inch scale samurai and ninjas, some who look familiar. Swords, bows, knives, masks, interchangeable arms, heads, hands, helmets, top knots, count me in, because I am in, and I have been in since the Kickstarter to kickstart it. I don't know if anyone else is ever going to attempt to do highly articulated, even remotely historically accurate 6-inch samurai figures. So while I'm very happy that Articulated Icons delivered a sweet, smoky, translucent ninja, a very close, almost Storm Shadow ninja, and a just about close enough Snake Eyes ninja, I'm most appreciative of Fumetsu the Undying Ronin, complete with skull faceplate, antler headdress, and all the rest of the gear he could need as he wanders the lands, searching for the release of an honorable death. There were a lot of figures that battled it out for the 2 through 10 spots on the list, but one figure had everything it needed, short of being named Dan Larson, to lock up the number 1 spot the day it arrived. Number 1 is Marvel Legends Spider-Man Homecoming Vulture with complete Build-A-Wings. When we shot the video for this figure back in July, producer Greg asked me if this was going to be the number 1 figure of the year for me, and if not, what could possibly be coming out that could beat it? I wasn't totally sure, probably because I didn't want to think that 2017 had ended so early. If a robot was put in charge of designing the ideal action figure for me based on known criteria or a survey of my collection, I don't know if it really could have done a better job than this Vulture. Fur-collared bomber jacket, fighter pilot helmet with translucent visor, menacing bird visage and glowing evil robot eyes, flight harness, giant robo-bird feet, and huge mechanical hybrid hover wings. The only place this figure fell short was not having an unhelmeted Michael Keaton head. But no figure is perfect, and that's why this might have been the best figure of 2017, but it wasn't the last. The 10 best of 2017 was a Star Wars and Marvel love fest, but that's only because I love Star Wars and Marvel, and always have. It's the stuff that got me into this collecting biz, and it's the stuff that will prevent me from ever leaving it. Thanks for watching. I say that at the end of all of our videos, but this time it carries a little more weight because we're talking about the entire year. Thank you for all the time you spent with us watching videos, making comments, and loving action figures, cartoons, movies, and video games. Give this video a like, share it with your friends, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/toygalaxy if you're in the position to help the channel grow, and let us know in the comments what your 10 best of 2017 are. Bonus points for every mention of Boba Fett, space birds, and robot dogs. That's how we roll.
Cut.